And Michelle, right here.
Showing your left side.
And Miss Williams.
Straight ahead, Michelle.
And
Michelle.
Big smiles together.
Michelle, together.
Little smiles right here, Steven. He's coming back. You gotta go.
Michelle, Steven.
Try that.
Right
turn
side,
here.
Paul on the right side. That's right here, sir.
And Paul right next to her, right here. Paul.
Paul on the right, sir. Paul on the right. Just stay right there and just.
Paul, one smart, Paul.
And Paul.
But I so Lauren here.
I know you guys on the right, sir. Right side.
And Mr. Rogan, sir.
Mr. Rogan right here.
Seth right here. And Mr.
Guys, all right. Be all right. Gabriel.
Gabriel lies right here. That's smart.
Gabriel, one smile.
Gabriel, back to
Here, right here, Julia.
Julia, straight ahead.
Julia, looking back.
Julia, can we see?
Julia, right here, look at me. Look at me.
Julia.
Chin down a bit. Yeah.
And straight ahead. Keely. Right here,
And Miss Carson's right here.
Keely, right here, Daddy. Keely. Straight ahead, Mateo.
Excuse me, ma'am. Gustavo, right here, Gustavo.
You're in the picture.
I don't know where to
I know.
Miss Butters looking back. 30.
Mateo, right here.
And Birdie right here. Birdie right here.
And then right here. Straight ahead.
Hey, guys, right here.
And Judd looking this way.
Regardless, it's good to see you.
And just together.
Judd.
And Sophia. Turn.
Sam.
Paul to the right.
Sam, right here, Sam. Sam. Left side, Sam. This guy.
Chloe to
Give
the
us a
right.
big
Chloe to your right, left
Chloe.
side.
Big smile up. Right here. Look this way. Right here.
Chloe in the front.
Chloe right here.
Taylor, one more time, right here. Together.
Oh, straight ahead. Mr. Spielberg.
Steven.
To your left. To your left.
Steven on the right.
Steven to the left. Steven to the left.
Mr.
Steven.
Spielberg to the right.
Steven,
Looking up there.
Gabriel, everybody this way. To the left.
And
Gentlemen, can you turn your body? There we go, right here. To the right, please. To the right. That was a good Steven, next spot.
ready.
Ladies, back this way.
The Spielbergs. Everyone right here.
And all three on the right side.
One of them's not a lady.
Give me that book.
And Mr. Kushner ready.
And could you face me, please, this way?
And Tony on the right side.
Everybody's got a family. It's Spielberg's baby.
I can't believe we're here. I can't believe we're celebrating this man, his life. I feel like we're here for it's like an ode to filmmaking. They're just going to see how he came to have a passion for film and how filming things changed his life in a real profound way. It's just a movie for the ages. It's like a film about a filmmaker who's been making movies for 50 years. It's about complicated, interesting, messy, and great families.
It's wonderful. It's everybody there is just an expert at what they do. They're masters, and Steven does such an incredible job at leading the set and setting the tone for everybody. And Chrissy and Tony, it's so amazing having them all the time. And Paul and Michelle and Seth, they're all so supportive, and they were it's incredible. It's Steven Spielberg making a movie about his life. It's incredibly personal. It's masterfully crafted in every aspect, every department of filmmaking, and it's really good. Any story that's so specific and well articulated to any experience, everybody can relate to it.
We are immediately in the past, you know, and the part that I played way in the past. The fun part about it was that I was not, you know, necessarily in the movement of the family, so I had a little bit more freedom. I can only speak for a feeling that I have about being allowed to represent somebody in this guy's life. You know what I mean? It's the true challenge is really how much it moved the director, the man whose life it is. Steven knows how to make a movie, and he can move you. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Any extra nervousness that I would have had was just so immediately dispelled by how gushy and warm Steven is. Well, it's a Steven Spielberg movie. You know, they're so cinematic. They're made, he's a movie lover. They're made for movie screens. They're made for moviegoers. And it's a beautiful thing to, it's a really beautiful celebration. It's a fun thing to see with a lot of people. The really fun ones, of course, I remember from childhood, but Empire of the Sun, really, I saw it when I was a little bit too young for it, and it really, really lodged in my mind. And I think made me a nice kid because I was afraid that bad things would happen to me if I was like that character. So
I told him on the last day of shooting, I think it would still take me a few years to process, accept that he would ask me to play his father. So it means a lot, and I'm excited to finally share the film. Well, Steven's one of the great film artists of all time, so there may already be some pressure that comes with it, but from our first conversation, he was so open and vulnerable about this subject matter. That kind of opens the door to everything and to all of us in the crew. So I think we just cared deeply and you know, tried to do right by these characters. Steven is letting you into how he sees the world, which is through the language of film. It is a beautiful thing to see with an audience as well because of its spirit, and it's funny and it's inspiring. Yeah, you got to see it in a theater.
It's very flattering, and to not be some sort of, you know, like an alien or something like that, to be a real human. My face is actually, you know, I didn't show up, and yeah, my face wasn't swapped out with someone else's or something like that. Yeah, it's very flattering. It's crazy, and it's a really big premiere. It's nice that these things are happening again. Yeah, it's really a surreal thing for me and everyone involved, I think, and even the actors like Michelle and Paul, who've worked with so many directors that are so much better than the ones I have worked with. Even they are blown away by this experience. It is about movies, fundamentally, and it is by nature cinematic. It's a humongous movie. Even though it really focuses on nuanced, small relationships in a lot of ways, it has a humongous scope to it. So yeah, it's fun to see in the theater. Saving Private Ryan was one that I really loved, and that came out, you know, I was in high school, so that was like when I was really starting to absorb movies, I think, with like an adult's perspective, and I remember seeing that in the theater, and it was very, like, really blew my mind, you know. Yeah.
I think I'm always vulnerable in terms of the movies I've made, but this is a very personal story. It's the first time I've taken privacy public, and I've never done that. You don't see me doing that a lot in my life, and this was a story that I thought had some merit about my mom and my dad and my sisters and formative years growing up in 3 states. And Tony Kushner kind of prodded me years ago into starting to really take these stories I was telling him a little more seriously. So we started working together about 3 years ago. And now we're going to introduce people to a family called the Fabelmans. Families are complicated. And I don't know any family that is not complicated. And our complications are probably not as unusual as someone else's, so I think this is not a vanity production for me. I'm not holding up a little vanity hand mirror to my face. This is a big universal reflection, I think, of everybody everywhere with siblings, with parents, with problems at school, with a passion, a hobby, something that becomes a career. So I think there's a lot of sort of universal truths in the story we're telling. Well, fortunately, the films that we recreated to look like the films I used to make when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 are better than the films I made when I was 12, 13, 14, 15. When you get Janusz Kaminski and me together, even when we're trying to make something look amateurish, we had a really hard time doing that. So I promise you, my old movies are a lot worse than the little movies that we recreated for the Fabelmans. Every movie should be seen on a big screen. Every movie. The movies are made for movie theaters. Now I'm fine about films that are streamed and streaming platforms, and the most important thing is storytelling. And I really, at this point, don't care how I see good stories. If I see them on my iPhone, not a great way to see something, but I just love good stories. But because of the traditions that I was raised believing in, I seriously believe that movies are best seen in the company of strangers, in large theaters, with a giant screen. And I will always feel that way.
I asked him if he remembered, or if he had an idea of what made him start directing movies. And he said it was a complicated story. It was like the first day of filming on Munich almost 20 years ago. And he told me the story that turned out to be the central incident in the movie, in the Fabelmans. And after he told me the story, I said, "You have to make this into a movie someday." And he said, "Well, maybe someday we'll do it together." And we laughed, and we thought that was the end of it, but it turned out not to be. We never wanted it to be something that would only matter if you cared about Steven Spielberg. We kept saying, would this scene, would this moment work in a film about any teenage boy and his parents who were going through a very difficult time in their marriage? And we asked that about the movie moment by moment and about the movie as a whole. And when we were done with the script, we were pretty clear this feels like something that could speak to everybody about the dynamics of a family, and I think especially it's powerful about a marriage between two people who really love each other but run into a lot of trouble. I think he's one of the signal artists of our era. Everybody thinks that, and I feel like it's been a 20-year-long dream to work with him. It's a privilege, and it's an honor, and it's a real joy. I mean, he's a great guy, and I love spending time with him. So it's also become a real friendship, and that means everything to me.